Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really eye-opening concept from the book Faith Unmasked. We're looking at a huge spiritual roadblock, why so many of us actually end up blocking our own answers right after we finish praying. You know, we tend to think the heavy lifting is done the second we say the word amen, but honestly, your habits after that moment are just as crucial, if not more so.
Just take a look at this foundational verse from Mark 11:24. It totally shatters the idea that prayer ends when you get off your knees. It says, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Notice that requirement? It's not just ask and move on. You have to actually maintain this ongoing state of believing you've already received it. That's a mindset, not just a 10-second request.
So, this brings us to the big, uncomfortable question for today's explainer. Are you unknowingly sabotaging your own prayers? Because what you let into your head and your heart after you pray can either sustain that miracle you just asked for or can totally unravel it. Let's walk through the 6 distinct mistakes you absolutely need to avoid. Okay, kicking things off with mistake number 1, allowing doubt to take control. This is such a common trap, right? You pray with so much passion, but the second you step back into your day, your mind immediately starts playing judge. James 1:6 actually warns us that the one who doubts is unstable. So doubt isn't just an innocent passing thought. No, it's a dangerous spiritual posture. It literally means you're making a choice to trust the physical logic of what you can see right now over the unseen promise you literally just prayed for. You're basically stepping right into a mental battlefield the second you say amen. On one side, you've got faith declaring, hey, it is already done. But on the other side, doubt is whispering, yeah, but I don't see it yet. Here's the thing. Your job isn't to sit there and debate with fear when it knocks. Your job is to answer that fear with the absolute authority of faith. Think about it like this. It's like planting a seed in your garden and then violently digging it up every single morning just to check if the roots are growing. I mean, it's never going to bear fruit if you do that. This unseen process demands that you keep your conviction completely intact while the answer is developing underground. Which brings us right to mistake number 2, living in direct contradiction. Now, this one is the absolute main culprit for spiritual stagnation. It's when we want the amazing results of faith, but we completely skip the daily commitment required to back it up. James 1:22 hits the nail on the head here. Prayer is your starting line. It is not an excuse to just avoid obedience. God is paying close attention to how you walk the moment you stand up from that prayer. You really have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I living today in alignment with what I just asked God for? Because if you're praying for major financial growth, but you're out there spending impulsively, you're kind of sabotaging the whole process. Or, praying for peace in your family, but then fueling every argument at the dinner table. You're living in direct contradiction. God absolutely honors faith, but he backs it up with obedience. Moving on to our third pitfall. Mistake number 3, rushing God's timing.
We've all been there. Days pass, those quick results don't show up, and it is so easy to let anxiety take the wheel and start trying to force open doors that God clearly hasn't unlocked yet. But Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 is such a great reminder that there is a season for absolutely everything. When you hit a delay that frustrates you, remember, that's very often a strict season of preparation for you, not a final denial from him.
The story of Abraham is the ultimate cautionary tale for this. Because he couldn't wait for the right time, he literally tried to manufacture his own miracle, which led to Ishmael. And that proves a really harsh spiritual law. Whatever you try to force with your own 2 hands, you are going to have to sustain and pay for yourself. And that usually leads to some really painful long-term consequences.
All right, let's talk about mistake number 4, picking the burden back up.
This one is just emotionally exhausting. It's when you cry out, you hand your massive problem over to God, and then literally 2 hours later, you're sitting there obsessively replaying the worst-case scenarios in your head. Philippians 4 actually describes prayer as a literal legal exchange. You hand over your heavy burden, and in return, God guarantees his peace to guard your heart. But if you take that worry back, you are actively canceling out that divine transaction. I mean, think about the sheer absurdity of this. It's exactly like checking a massive, heavy suitcase at the airport, getting your boarding pass, and then demanding to carry that heavy bag on your lap for the entire flight. It makes 0 sense. Yet, we do this all the time with prayer. A lot of us don't actually need to spend more hours praying. We just desperately need the mental discipline to stop carrying our checked luggage.
Okay, next up is mistake number 5, forgetting advanced gratitude. See, most people treat gratitude like it's just good manners, like it's something you only do after you see the final results. But advanced gratitude, that is a massive weapon of spiritual warfare. 1 Thessalonians commands us to give thanks in all circumstances. Why? Because thanking God in advance clearly signals to the spiritual realm that you completely trust the work He's already doing behind the scenes.
And the absolute perfect model for this is Jesus at the tomb of Lazarus. He did not wait to see a dead man walk out of the grave before he was thankful. He aligned his heart with heaven and actually gave thanks out loud to the Father before the stone was even rolled away. That is mature gratitude. You believe first in order to release the miracle.
And finally, we arrive at mistake number 6, disconnecting from God. This final bad habit basically turns prayer into dead religion by treating it like it's just an isolated crisis hotline. You really can't expect powerful, life-changing results from a rushed 5-minute monologue when you're desperate if you're just going to live the rest of your week totally disconnected. The antidote here is simple. Pray without ceasing. Your spiritual sensitivity needs to stay active while you're driving to work, sitting at your desk, or just hanging out with your family.
So, to wrap this explainer up, your spiritual life isn't usually taken down by one massive dramatic mistake. It's slowly weakened by these small, silent post-prayer habits. But by making these 6 crucial shifts, rejecting that whisper of doubt, aligning your daily actions, trusting God's unmovable timing, leaving that heavy burden behind, weaponizing your gratitude, and maintaining uninterrupted communion, you are going to dramatically strengthen your faith and see things clearly.
We're going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought for the day. God has already heard your prayer. The real question is, are your actions saying amen? Remember, it's not just about using the right words, it's about how you live and think the moment you stand up. So take a quick second today and really ask yourself, what are you doing after the amen?